Hey Tamers, welcome back to Hero Games. The new starter decks are out, bringing us much needed support for classics such as UlforceVeedramon, as well as Colaemon. But most importantly, it gives new players a chance to finally get into this game. Now, I'm already a long-time player, but I don't have a solid blue deck yet, and I'm a big fan of the Veedramon line. So I figured I would use this blue deck as my way to get into the color and see what we can do as a fun deck. Now, of course, I'm also a gamer on a budget, so this is also going to be a budget blue deck while trying to be as competitive as possible without breaking the bank. Alright, if we start with our level 2s, we're running the 4 copies that come with the starter deck here, the DemiVeemon. While we have 8 or more cards in our hand, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. You can definitely run any of the other blue cards. They get a total of 5 eggs. I like to just start at 4 when I'm learning a new deck so I can get kind of accustomed to what my main egg wants to be. And we're running this one for a reason that we'll talk about in a little bit. We're running 4 copies of a classic BT3 Veemon. Comes with jamming, no inheritables. It's a 3-drop. This Veemon is a mainstay in most blue decks due to the fact that it's a jamming on a level 3. So once you drop it on your next turn, you're ready to start checking for security pretty safely. The only thing that's stopping it at this point is option cards that might pop it. But since it has jamming, it'll allow it to swing into higher DP Digimon in the security and not die. This forces your opponent to kind of move up early and deal with it on the spot. We're running 3 copies of the brand new ModokiBetamon from BT6. ModokiBetamon, on all turns your opponent cannot gain memory except with tamer effects. Now with these new decks we got new memory boosters, so not every color has a way to gain memory. ModokiBetamon helps us counter that to a degree. A lot of decks also run a lot of ways to pop level 3s pretty easily now, so he won't stay on the field too long, but it does force your opponent to deal with it in advance so that way they can get their memory boosters, which can force them to spend some resources in advance. We are running 4 copies of the new starter deck Veemon. So this is going to be our main boy here that we want to get in the stack. On your turn, if your opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon in play, this Digimon can Digivolve into an UlforceVeedramon in your hand for a memory cost of 4, ignoring its Digivolution requirements. So blue has another Warp Evolve besides the Gabumon now, and this one doesn't force you to trash any security. Just instead needs your opponent to kind of have a bigger board, but sometimes that's needed. You can really try to go for that last minute swing for game from just a level 3, which is pretty great. It's inheritable. When attacking, you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, trigger draw 1. This is important because a lot of this deck is going to revolve around having 8 cards in hand or more, and we'll get more into that breakdown of that in a second. In our last level 3, we're running 2 copies of Dracomon. Dracomon's kind of our searcher here. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 Digimon card with Dracomon in its name among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. This allows us to search for all of our Veedramon cards of every level. We are only running 2 of them though, because we're running a lot of cards that don't have Drumon necessarily in their name. But you can definitely bump up this count here if you plan on running more cards that will match the hitting triggers. But for our personal build here, we're going to keep to 2. Moving into our level 4s, we're running 4 copies of the new Veedramon. Veedramon is a level 4 Digimon that comes with the new blue starter deck. He is a 4-drop, which is a great thing for a Digimon, especially one with inheritable. We can drop him cheap if we break. If you have 8 or more cards in your hand, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to the owner's hand. Trash all of the Digivolution cards of that Digimon. So this kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier with the Modokibetamon, that now, since everybody's running some form of memory booster, memory blockers are going to see a lot more play. Things like Chumon and Gazimon. Veedramon gives us an option to remove them. We're running the BT5 blocker Colaemon. Now, blockers are not as useful this set. While they can come in clutch sometimes, because decks have a lot more options for removal now, blockers don't see as much play. They usually pop pretty quickly. But more importantly, he's a 1-drop, so he's a turbo option if we get him. And if we need a blocker late game just to stall for one more turn, he'll be there. Running 3 copies of Coredramon. Coredramon is another hit for the Dracomon search. While not being a Veedramon, he'll at least be the next best thing if we're hurting for a level 4. He will also play from security, which is big. On play, trigger draw 2 cards, which again plays into the grand scheme of getting a bunch of cards in our hand that we'll talk about later. For our level 5, our preferred go-to boy is the AeroVeedramon that comes with the starter deck. AeroVeedramon, while you have 8 or more cards in your hand, this Digimon gains security tag +1. Its natural ability is it has jamming. So if we need to pop that level 3 a little early there, we can have the Veedramon under him, swing into security pretty safely, jamming, and get rid of that level 3, pop some memory boosters if we need to. So that's a good way to start getting off some combos a little early if we need to with the level 5. Now most decks might run the other AeroVeedramon as a side five, but instead we are actually running the MachGaogamon from BT4. MachGaogamon Digiburst 2. Return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to the owner's hand. This allows us to get more of that early removal that we're talking about without having to start attacking with the level 5. Memory is going to be a big name of the game here, so if we need a way to pop some memory boosters or some hammer sparks, but there's that Chumon or that Gazimon, or if there's a blocker in our way, MachGaogamon is going to allow us to trash a few of those inheritables, sacrifice some of the things we might have been building up underneath him, and get rid of that threat, allowing us free and clear to go into our level 6. His inheritable will give this Digimon plus 2000 DP. In our last level 5, we were running 2 copies of Monzaemon. Monzaemon is simply just a cheap turbo option. He's a 5-drop if we brick that bad, or he's a 2-2 evolve if we need to go in quick. It's a pretty standard card for blue. He's been a long time running, and we get new art of him. Kind of have a nice little party there with the starter deck. For our main level 6, we are running the classic BT2 UlforceVeedramon in copies of 4. It's a 3-2 evolve, which I like a lot more than the 4-2 evolve of the starter deck one. When one of your blue tamers becomes suspended, unsuspend this Digimon. And then once per turn, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, gain 1 memory. So UlforceVeedramon has always been kind of a OTK tamer-based sort of card. You want to get a lot of suspending tamers on the field, and that will allow you to swing multiple times over and over again with Ulforce. Previously, we would pair that up with the original Veedramon to give him jamming so he wouldn't die. Instead, we're kind of going the route of checking more security, fewer swings, higher DP. Our side 5, we are running 2 copies of MirageGaogamon. So again, you're probably expecting the other UlforceVeedramon, but no, instead we're running this MirageGaogamon. I like him because... Hey guys, here with an edit where I misread the card. It is every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. On Digivolve, gain a memory. Not every 4 cards in your hand. This Digimon is also unblockable, so it makes it kind of a good reverse turbo option against decks that like to have a larger hand size. Thanks for tuning in. It's a cool card. I like it. It's kind of a spicy tech option. You can really put anything here that you want. This is entirely personality based, but I'm liking the Wolf Boy. For our level 7s, we're running 2 copies of the BT5 Omni Blitz. This is just a good go-to card to have in both red and blue builds. On Digivolve, this card can blitz, which means when you evolve him and it goes in your opponent's turn, he can still attack anyways. He also unsuspends on Digivolve, so after we're done attacking with the level 6, however many times, we can do it one final time, put Omnimon on top of him to swing. For that final swing, hopefully swing for game. And then he's also safe to get on the field if you need to stall. All turns, if your opponent's effect would remove this card to hand or deck or delete it. You may prevent this Digimon from leaving play by trashing the level 6 under him. So this is a great Trump Sword counter, Fly Bullet counter, Nidhaw counter, Gabu counter, anything that's not deleting him by battle. It's a good counter. Now for our tamers, there's a lot of options you can go with the tamers, and this is what I've been kind of feeling like has worked for me right now. We are running 2 copies of Rina. Rina is one of the original Veedramon tamers. When one of your blue Digimon attacks, you may suspend this tamer to give that Digimon plus 1000 DP for the turn. And then on play, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 Digimon with the name V in its name to your hand. So this acts as a searcher, and it acts as an important component into the Ulforce line. We're also running 2 copies of the Tai Kamiya from V-Tamer. Same kind of thing with Rina, where it's Veemon specific. If you have a Digimon with Veedramon in its name, you may suspend this tamer to activate the following effects. Activate draw 1, or give a Digimon plus 1000 DP for a turn. This kind of goes a little bit into some of the different plays you can make depending on the matchups. With Rina, you suspend when you attack. With Tai, you can suspend after you attack. So with that, you can actually kind of play around Trump Sword if you need to. And then for our other tamers, we are running 1 copy of Deus Motomiya. He is another search option, while also being a memory corrector. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 blue and 1 green Digimon card among them to your hand. So this gives us a way to add memory corrector, so we can kind of get around the Gazis and other such memory blockers, or get around our opponent memory choking us, while also still searching for a card. And then run 1 copy of Sora and Joe, which is the BT5 dual tamer. If your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, gain 2 memory, which can also help us get to that 3 memory minimum that we're looking for. But he also activates as one of the other tamers too. When one of our blue Digimon attacks, you may suspend this tamer to trash up to 2 Digivolution cards on the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. The key part there is it's suspending when attacking, so it'll meet the same requirements that Rina does that we need to activate for Ulforce's effects. For our option cards, we are running 1 blue memory boost that came with the new starter decks, and we're running one Howling memory boost that came in the BT6. Now they both have the end goal of playing for 3, doing something, gain 2 memory later on down the road. I run one of each because honestly I can't really decide which one I like more. They both have neat effects associated with them. The blue memory boost allows us to search for the top 4 cards to add a blue Digimon to hand, which is great for searching. The Howling memory boost allows us to trash some Digivolution sources, and then a Digimon with no sources cannot attack or block until the end of the next turn. And that can be really great for stalling out for turn or going into some aggressive moves next turn. But really, I think it's entirely personality-based. Howling Memory Boost might be a bit more meta, but I really like both, so I'm trying one of each until I decide. Then I'm running 2 copies of Hammer Spark. Hammer Spark is always just good. On play, gain a memory, which is important, but then also check in security, gain 2 memory, which can quickly shut down your opponent's turn and stop some OTK swings. And then we're running 2 copies of V-Wing Blade. This is our form of hard removal. Return one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon to the owner's hand. Trash all the Digivolution sources of that card. So V-Wing Blade is kind of like Fly Bullet, where it can only target level 6 or lower Digimon. But that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You have a lot of other issues if your opponent has a level 7 Digimon out. A lot of times they're making their big plays nowadays off of level 6 Digimon, like Jessmon. So if Jessmon's swinging and doesn't have Delicate Plan, V-Wing Blade can end that OTK plan. And Titamon can help you with 3 Musketeers. There's just a lot of versatility nowadays with decks starting with their level 6s and trying to end games with 7s. The only thing this isn't really going to help you with, of course, is Bond decks that much. Gabubon and Agubon are level 7 cards. That will also be going away. You can try to move some of their surrounding support, but this won't be able to target the big boys. So as we see, the main strat of our deck here is to kind of build up some tamers for some unsuspending effects to our Ulforce. Now, we are running this particular line of cards because since we're not playing with the jamming ability, I want to be able to swing Ulforce a little higher in the DP side. It can be a little risky early on, but trading out that jamming for the security +1 also means we don't have to get as many tamers on the field to get that OTK swing. So if we get that swing here, we have either of our main Veedramon tamers out. You'll get +1,000 from the baby. That put him at 12,000. He'll get +1,000 from either Rina or the V-Tamer. So that he'll be swinging at 13,000. So 13k is pretty high DP. You're not dying to a lot of things. Really, you're just dying to level 7s in most builds, and not a whole lot of them. So the numbers are on your side. And he'll check for 2 security, tap, unsuspend, check for another 2 security, tap, check for another 2 security. So whereas before you would need a tamer for each security, we're not able to do it where you only need 2 tamers really if you have the full build to swing for all of the security, removing level 3s, and then you can Omni for game. Testing wise, I've been playing with this build a little bit here. I've only gotten tested against mostly purple decks. I haven't played this version against Titamon purple, but it did struggle a bit with the Gazimon cards, which is why we added in the removals. Gazimon really shuts down blue a lot with its memory gain, and this deck can be kind of slow if you don't have ways to gain memory. And then we played against 3 Musketeers, and we ended up 2-0ing 3 Musketeers, which I thought was fantastic. Definitely very lucky. A single Fly Bullet would have just ended everything for me. But thankfully, we hit no Fly Bullet in there. Hey guys, I hope you like my blue deck build. I hope that gives you some ideas for your own blue deck build, especially if you're new to the game, you're trying to figure out what to build to. I hope it give you some options, especially affordable ones, because I know card games can be kind of hard to get into at first. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think and if you have any ideas. And stay tuned for more Digimon content in the future. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.